Okay, I'm going to get started this evening by welcoming everyone. Welcome to Wat Tung. Nice to see everyone here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Today is our group learning program where I get together with students and I guide them in a meditation session. And then afterwards, I'm going to share some teachings with you that are going to help you to understand the path to enlightenment. The Buddha figured out how to train the mind to get to the point where it's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. You no longer experience any discontent feelings. By the time you get to enlightenment, you no longer experience anger, sadness, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety, loneliness, boredom, shyness, resentment, jealousy. All of this can be eliminated from the mind. So what we're going to be doing is breathing mindfulness meditation to get started. This is a regular practice that you would build up on your own as part of your development of your practice. But then afterwards, I'm going to share with you the Four Noble Truths, helping you guys to be able to understand the very first teaching of the Buddha. This is where you understand the problem in the mind, the cause of the problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward. If you're interested in knowing anything about the teachings of the Buddha, you would start with this teaching. He would start all brand new students with this particular teaching. So if you'd like to join along in the meditation, I start with some chanting in order to ease the mind into meditation. It helps you to get more benefit out of the meditation itself if you choose to do some chanting. The chants are over there on the laminated sheet on the cabinet. You're welcome to help yourself to get a laminated sheet. For all of you guys online, this is on our website at buddhadailywisdom.com. You can click on free books and then you'll scroll down towards the bottom and you'll see there in the middle of the page that there's a daily chanting sheet. So I'm going to start with the chanting. Then there's going to be me coming in with some guidance where I'm going to be essentially teaching you and instructing you how to meditate while we're actually meditating. Then there's going to be a period of time of quietness where we're all meditating together. Then we're going to come out of that with some more chanting, and that's where I'll start today's class. So feel free to make yourself comfortable, whatever position you'd like, and you're welcome to join in, and then I'll come back in with the chanting, or I'm sorry, with the guidance after that. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Mahakawa Wat Tung Mahakawanhang Apiwateyami Sawakato Mahakawata Tammo Dhammang namasami Supatipano mahakavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang namami Namo rasa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo rasa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Namo rasa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa. Iti piso mahakava arahang sammasambuddho. Vichacharanang sammuno Sakato rokavitu Anutero purisa Dhamma sati satatawa manusrang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect. Just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath, a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled, just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathing gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind focused on the breath, whenever you notice that it moves off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakewata Tammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakewato Savakasangho Sanghang Namami Namo Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namo Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti piso Mahakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavitu Anutero Purisa Dhamma Sati Satatawa Manusrang Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Once again, welcome to all of you guys here. Welcome to everyone who's joining online as well. Each Sunday, I get together here with students, and on Wednesday as well, helping them to understand the path to enlightenment. What I do is I use this book as a guide. Each week, I go chapter by chapter in this book, and today we're in chapter 12, which is titled, Craving is the Problem. What is the solution? This is where it helps you to be able to get a refresh of your memory of the Four Noble Truths, because anybody who's been studying in this program for the last 3 months, it's a 7-month program, that they've already learned this 2 different times as part of this program. But for some of you guys, it's your first time here, so this will be a great opportunity for you to learn the very first teaching of the Buddha. I'm going to help you to be able to understand what is actually the problem that he discovered, the cause of that problem, the elimination of it, and the path forward. In 4 simple statements, you're going to be able to independently verify why you experience things like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. Oftentimes, people think it's the outside world that's causing these feelings. It's not your mom and dad that are frustrating you. It's not your brothers and sisters that are annoying you. It's not your life partner that's frustrating you or your children. It's actually what's going on inside your own mind. And the Buddha's teachings help you to be able to understand this. And when you come to understand this is where the real transformation begins. This is where you can start to understand this enlightened mental state that the Buddha taught, of how to get to the point where the mind's completely peaceful, calm, serene, and content with joy. In order to understand his teachings, you can't believe his teachings. There's no belief in his teachings. It's not about believing a bunch of things and hoping something good happens when you die. It's about learning, growing, and developing in this life, training your mind. It's not a bunch of rules and commandments. It's also not rites, rituals, ceremonies, worship, and prayer. It's about doing this inner work, this inner growth, this inner development. And it starts with the Four Noble Truths, which is part of the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is the core central teaching of the Buddha, which is going to help you to be able to guide you to the enlightened mental state. This is the core central teaching of the Buddha that's going to help you to be able to understand how to train your mind gradually over a consistent long-term period to be able to move your mind closer and closer to this peaceful and joyful mental state where you no longer experience anger, sadness, frustration, and others. It starts with right view. That's what I'm going to be teaching you today. This is the very first step on the Eightfold Path. This is where you can have a real breakthrough to be able to finally understand why you're experiencing these feelings. Because if you continue to go around believing that it's other people who are causing these feelings, you'll never actually fix it. You'll walk around with anger and frustration the rest of your life. As I mentioned, the teachings of the Buddha aren't based in belief, because with belief, you don't know what's true or false. You're just believing it because somebody convinced you to believe it, or you convinced yourself to believe it. You need to be able to see the truth of what's really going on within your own mind and what's going on in this world. So the Buddha's teachings are here to guide you to be able to understand this world. And the way that the Buddha taught is he encouraged students to be able to actively learn his teachings by listening with eager ears. That if you just sat back and you let the teachings kind of roll over your head, you're not going to be able to experience the life-improving transformation that you can experience on this path to enlightenment. But if you listen with eager ears, where you're actively interested in understanding the teachings, then you reflect on them to verify whether they're true or they're false, and then you practice his teachings, you'll be able to see that they actually work to improve the condition of your mind in your life. So as I'm going today, I'm going to be pausing a couple of times to open up for questions, because that's part of you learning. If you would like to ask questions here at the temple, we have microphones in the white bowl there in the center of the room, and we have some up here. If you would get a microphone, that'll help the people online to be able to hear you. You just press the gray button, hold it up to your chin, and we'll be able to hear you here at the temple, and they'll be able to hear you online as well. And then you can keep these microphones with you, because you might have more than one question, or someone else might have a question, and you can share the microphone. And then if you could turn it off when you're not using it, that'll help us to not get feedback through the speakers. And then anybody who's online, whether you're in Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom, you can put your questions into the comment section and I'll be able to see that. Or you can electronically raise your hand in Zoom, unmute your microphone, and ask any and all questions that you like that way. So in order to understand right view in the Four Noble Truths and have this breakthrough to understanding the mind, you need to first understand the three universal truths. The three universal truths are building blocks that are going to help you to understand the Four Noble Truths when we get to those. Here, the Buddha is helping you to understand the way the world is. He's not explaining to you the way the world should be, and that if everybody follows rules and commandments, the world will become a better place. He's helping you to be able to see the way the world is. Because when your mind is angry and sad and frustrated and all these other feelings, this is your mind struggling and having difficulties because it lives in a world that it doesn't understand. But slowly but surely, you can understand the world around you. So I'm going to show you how to learn, reflect, and practice with these three universal truths. We call them the three universal truths and the Four Noble Truths because the Buddha knew that they were true, and I know that they're true, and other people know that they're true. But the way that you're going to benefit is you need to know they're true. And that's why you don't believe anything that I say, anything I write in books, anything that anybody else says. You need to be able to see the truth for yourself. So this first one here, this universal truth of impermanence, this is where the Buddha is helping you to be able to understand the world around you is constantly changing. This is a building block to help you understand when we get to the Four Noble Truths. Things are constantly changing. They arise, they change, and they fade away. These are called conditioned objects, that anything that you can see, hear, smell, taste, anything that comes in contact with the body or any thoughts or ideas that go through your mind, it is impermanent. It arises, it changes, and it fades away. These are called conditioned objects. Then there's something called unconditioned objects. Unconditioned objects do not arise, they do not change, and they don't fade away. The things that are unconditioned are enlightenment itself. When you get to enlightenment, it's an unconditioned mental state. There's no condition that needs to be met in order for you to experience the peace and joy in the enlightened mental state. So that mental state does not arise, change, or fade away. It's a permanent mental state. The same thing is true about the natural laws that the Buddha taught about 2,500 years ago. These natural laws haven't changed. That's why his teachings are timeless. What he taught 2,500 years ago is just as applicable today as it was 2,500 years ago because his teachings don't change in terms of the natural laws. Now, people's memories and the books and people's thoughts about his teachings, that all changed. But The natural laws themselves don't actually change. So here, the universal truth of impermanence is showing you how things are constantly changing in the world. The material world around you is constantly changing. But you don't believe that, because what I just shared with you is the intellectual learning. Now you need to move it into reflection to be able to see the truth for yourself and independently verify it. The way that you do this is you take things that you're familiar with. Like I suggest you take this physical body. Ask yourself, is this body permanent, meaning it never changes, it's always the same? Or is this body impermanent, meaning it's constantly changing? So what would you say? Is this body permanent or impermanent? What's that? It's impermanent? What would you guys say? Impermanent? Yeah, it's impermanent, right? Ever since the egg and the sperm came together, it's been constantly changing. We get taller, we get shorter, we get bigger, we get smaller, right? We get pimples and wrinkles and moles. We get gray hair. We start losing our hair, right? These are all changes that happen. When we first were born, we didn't have teeth. And then teeth grew in, right? That's change. But then those teeth fell out. That's change too. And then new teeth grew in. That's change again. And then those teeth get cavities. That's change too, right? Things are constantly changing with the physical body. What about your relationships? If your relationships are permanent, you've had exactly the same people in your life your entire life. If your relationships are impermanent, you've had people coming and going in and out of your life throughout your whole life. So what would you say? Are your relationships permanent or impermanent? They're impermanent, right? People are coming and going in and out of your life. What about your bank account? Is your bank account permanent or impermanent? What is it? Impermanent, right? It's going up and down and up and down. Some people's goes up, up, up. Maybe yours goes up, 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 right? Some people's goes down, 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 right? That's change, right? What about the weather? Is the weather permanent or impermanent? It's impermanent, right? So we could go on and on and on like this. And if this is what you need to do, you should do that, because you need to independently verify what I'm sharing with you is true. When you're walking down the street and you see a crack in the sidewalk, that is impermanence. When you look at the tree and you see green leaves in the tree and brown leaves on the ground, that is impermanence. When you look around on the floor of the temple, you see wooden planks. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter, some of them are one color, some of them are a different color. This is all impermanence. There's constant change in the world around you, and you need to independently verify this so that you know it's true, because it's a building block to help you understand when we get to the Four Noble Truths. Then the second universal truth is called discontentedness. If you've studied the teachings of the Buddha in some other places, you might have heard the word suffering being used here. I don't use this word because it doesn't accurately reflect what the Buddha was describing, but I'll help you to understand what the Buddha taught here, and then I'll circle back and help you understand why I don't use the word suffering. The word in the original source text with the Pali language is the word dukkha. This translates to discontent, discontented, or discontentedness. What the Buddha is doing here is he's explaining to you what the unenlightened mind experiences, which are conditioned feelings. The mind experiences three feelings in the unenlightened state: pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant feelings. The pleasant feelings are things like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, or euphoria. And there's some condition that's causing that. Maybe it's sunny outside, so you get so happy and excited. Or your bank account is up here, so you get really thrilled and really excited. There's a condition that's being met. Then there's painful feelings like sadness, anger, frustration, irritation, annoyance, guilt, shame, fear, stress, anxiety. This is very painful to experience. And once again, these are conditioned feelings. There's some condition that is causing this. Then there's neither painful nor pleasant feelings. I put boredom and loneliness here, but some people say that's painful. So you could put that in the painful category if you like. Or shyness is a good example here, that it's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's neither painful nor pleasant. Or say you're sitting on a bus, like a public transportation, and somebody you don't know comes in and sits really, really close to you, and your body's touching their body. You might say that it's not painful, it's not pleasant, it's neither painful nor pleasant. You're kind of uncomfortable or dissatisfied in that situation. So these are the three feelings that the unenlightened mind experiences, and they're conditioned feelings. So the unenlightened being, let's just say they wake up in the morning and they see it's sunny outside. They get so happy and excited based on the condition that it's sunny. And they're like, wow, I'm going to go hiking today. This is going to be great. I've been wanting to go on this hiking trail for a long time. And now they go take a shower and they come out and it's raining. And it's like, I can't go hiking. I'm so frustrated and angry because they base their feeling of happiness on the sun, and the sun is not permanent. Now, when the sun is gone, their mind is frustrated or angry. This is why you haven't been able to get to permanent happiness, because the mind in the unenlightened state is experiencing conditioned feelings. An enlightened being doesn't experience that. When they woke up in the morning, they're already happy. Before they even saw it was sunny outside, they're already happy. There's no condition that needs to be met in order for that to be there. And now when they see it's sunny outside, it's like, sweet, I'm going to go hiking today. This is going to be a great time. I'm going to call my friends. I'm going to have a good time. This is going to be great. Now you go take a shower and you come out and it's raining. Oh, well, it's raining. Guess I'm not going to go hiking today. Guess I'll either stay home and read a book, or maybe I'll go to the mall. Maybe I'll invite my friends over and we can make some food and we'll have a good time here, right? No big deal. Because the enlightened being didn't base their feelings on the sun, when the sun is gone, they can maintain their happiness. They're experiencing unconditioned happiness, where the mind is always happy. The mind is always joyful. So as long as the mind is experiencing conditioned feelings, you can never get to the permanent peace and the permanent joy. So as long as the mind's holding on to the temporary happiness, you can't get to the permanent happiness. So here, this is what the unenlightened mind is experiencing, discontentedness. But remember, you don't believe that, right? That's just the intellectual learning part. Now you move it into reflection. You know that your mind is unenlightened, so ask yourself, is this what you experience? Are there any feelings that you experience that doesn't fit into one of these three categories? And if so, when we get to the question period, let me know and we can talk about it. Now, some people refer to this as suffering. I don't use that word here because it doesn't accurately reflect what the Buddha was describing, the full spectrum of feelings and emotions that the unenlightened mind experiences. It describes the painful feelings really, really well. Right? Because when you're angry and frustrated or feeling guilt or shame or fear, you might say you're suffering. But if your boss walked into your office and said they're going to give you a raise and you've been doing such a good job, they're going to give you $100,000 a year raise, and you got really excited about that, would you say you were suffering in that situation? Probably not, right? Or if that person you don't know comes into the bus and sits really close to you and your body is touching their body, would you say you were suffering in that situation? Probably not, right? So if we use this word suffering, it only helps you to understand the painful feelings, which is 33% of what the Buddha was teaching here. That means you're missing 66% of his teachings. And if you're missing 66% of a teacher's teachings, how could you ever get to the ultimate goal, which is enlightenment? So I use the word discontent, discontented, in discontentedness, because you need to be able to see these conditioned pleasant feelings as just as much a part of the problem as the painful ones. It's pretty intuitive to understand that you need to eliminate anger, sadness, frustration, and all these other feelings. But when I say to people that you're going to eliminate happiness and excitement and elation and thrill, people are like, hold on a second, David, I'm not sure if I'm interested in getting to enlightenment. What do you mean I'm going to be eliminating that stuff? What you're eliminating is the conditionality of these feelings, that you can only experience happiness when certain conditions are met. Right? If my mom and dad do this, if my brothers and sisters do this, if my boss does this, if I have this much money in my bank account, if I have this kind of house and this kind of car, then I will be happy. That is called conditional happiness. So your happiness is shrinking. It's getting smaller and smaller and smaller the more expectations you have. This is why some people are old and grumpy. Not everybody's old and grumpy, but some people are old and irritable and grumpy because they have all these cravings, all these things that they need to be fulfilled in order for them to be happy. And that is so rare for them to experience that because it's shrunk. What the Buddha is teaching you to do is get beyond conditional happiness and to get to unconditioned happiness. So, for example, if you get really happy and excited when you get a brand new job, well, the painful feelings are waiting for you right around the corner. Because when you don't have that job anymore, when the company goes out of business, when you get laid off or fired, you're going to be angry and sad and frustrated. Because if you can only be happy with that brand new job, that means when everything changes, your mind's not going to be happy anymore. So the Buddha is teaching you and training you, helping you to see how to train your own mind to get to unconditioned happiness or unconditioned joy. So you need to be willing to let go of the temporary happiness in order to get to the permanent joy, the permanent happiness, which is unconditioned. So that's why I use the word discontent, because what that's describing is how the mind is shaken up. It's unsteady, it's uncalm. Because if you've ever been so excited, you like dropped something or you tripped and fell, you can see that your mind is discontent in that situation. You're making unwise decisions. So this is the second universal truth. Then there's the third universal truth here. This is actually a solution to one of the problems that the Buddha discovered in the mind. I'll explain to you the problem first, and then I'll circle back and explain the solution. There's these 10 individual pollutions in the mind that the Buddha discovered. They're called the 10 fetters. He refers to them as a fetter because during his lifetime, if you were someone that they were trying to keep confined to a certain area, they would attach a fetter around your ankle. What a fetter is a shackle and a chain and a ball. And then they would just keep you out in a field, where today we put prisoners in jail cells or something like that, right? Where during his lifetime, they would attach a fetter to your ankle. So when he discovers these 10 pollutions, he calls them fetters because it's keeping the mind trapped in this unenlightened state. Keep experiencing anger and frustration over and over and over again. But just like if you release the shackle off the ankle of the prisoner and they're now free, the same thing is true about your mind. If you get rid of these 10 fetters, eliminating them from the mind, your mind is now free. You're liberated. Because when you're angry and stressed and having anxiety, your mind is all bound up. You're not free. But you can get free of that by eliminating these fetters or these pollutions, these defilements out of the mind. So there's 10 of them. The very first one is called personal existence view. I'll explain to you what this is because this is the solution to that. So what personal existence view is where the mind is clinging to your body or clinging to your mind, holding on to these things, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. Your mind is clinging to a self-image or a self-identity, wanting others to perceive you a certain way. The mind's confused. It thinks that this body is who you are as a person, or that this mind is who you are as a person. So for example, if you've ever been in a social situation where you spilled something on your clothing and you were embarrassed by that, that is your personal existence view. Your mind is clinging to this self-image, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way, and you can only be happy if you're being perceived the way you want to be perceived. When you have clean clothes, you're happy, you feel comfortable. But when you have some spaghetti sauce all over your shirt, you feel uncomfortable in that situation because you're clinging to this body, wanting others to perceive you a certain way. Or maybe you looked in the mirror and you saw a wrinkle or a pimple or a mole, or you saw gray hair, or you started losing your hair. You might have been shaken up by that. That's your personal existence view. Or maybe you stood in front of the mirror and you stood in front of your closet and you were thinking, who am I going to see today and how do I want to look? And you put on some clothes and you looked in the mirror and you're like, no, that's not it. And then you put on another set of clothes and you're like, that's not it. Put on a third set of clothes. You're like, all right, now I feel comfortable to go outside. This is your personal existence view, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. When I was a kid, I used to have this really badly. Maybe you did too. I used to stand in front of the mirror before going to school, and I would get out the gel and the mousse, and I would run it through my hair, and I would try to get every little hair in exactly the right spot before going to school. I couldn't go outside until every little hair was in the right spot. And sometimes I did this for so long, I'd miss the school bus on the way to school. Right? So this is the personal existence view where you're clinging to your body, your self-image. You can also cling to the mind, which is your self-identity, your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your job or occupation. You can cling to any number of these things as who you think you are. Like, I am American, or I am Lithuanian, I am Chinese, I am German, I am Indian, I am Mexican. Any of this I am. If you have this thought of who you think you are as a person, you'll be really happy and excited when people are perceiving you a certain way, but you'll be angry and frustrated when they're not. So say, for example, you're at a restaurant and 2 tables over, someone says about your nationality, all Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle, and you think of yourself as being American or Chinese or Indian or German or whatever it is, and they're talking about you in a fond way, your mind's perceiving it that way, that they're talking about you because they're talking about Americans or Germans or whatever your nationality is. And now you're like, wow, they're talking about me. All Americans are lovely and kind and warm and gentle. Wow, I'm so happy they're talking about me. But now, 2 tables over, it's only a matter of time before they start talking in negative and degrading ways. Because of impermanence, not everybody thinks about your nationality in the same way. So if you cling to this idea of who you think you are based on your nationality or your culture, your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, or your job or occupation, it's only a matter of time before you hear degrading and disparaging things, and now you're frustrated and angry, and you can't get to peace and joy as long as your mind's clinging to that. Or say you have a certain job or occupation, like say you think in your mind, I am a police officer. And now you're doing that job for 10 or 15 years, and you really feel great about that. But then you get laid off, or you get injured, or you retire and you can't do that job anymore. And now you're driving a taxi, and you think in your mind, I am a police officer. And now you're disgruntled and frustrated because you're not doing that work anymore. You don't feel whole. You feel like less of a person. Or say you were in a relationship with a boyfriend or girlfriend, and you think, I am a boyfriend, I am a girlfriend, I am a husband, I am a wife. And now when you're in that relationship, there's a certain level of comfort. But when you break up, your mind doesn't identify with I am single. And now you might have felt like you wanted to hurry up and get right back into another relationship because the mind doesn't understand that this personal existence view is a problem. It thinks the way to solve this uncomfortableness is to get back into another relationship and reassume that identity because it's uncomfortable with I am single. So this personal existence view is standing in your way of peace and joy because the mind is clinging to a self-image and a self-identity, wanting others to perceive you a certain way. And you can get free of this. And that's what we call realizing non-self. That you get to the point where you've trained your mind so well that you realize that this body is not you and this mind is not you. But oftentimes people really struggle with this when they first start hearing about the universal truth of non-self, because you've spent so much time accumulating the idea that this is who you are. In fact, when we were born, we were all given labels. I don't know what your label is, but my label is David. That's what people started calling me when I was born. And now you start having a certain character, a certain personality around that. And now your mind clings to this. In fact, wherever you were born, there's probably sports teams, flags, national anthems, and things like this that kind of imprint on our mind that this is who we are as a person because we were born on this certain land. And what your mind needs to do is to be able to let that go and realize that, yes, this body was born on a land that is currently referred to as America, but my mind doesn't have to adopt the identity of I am American. And now if somebody says something negative and degrading about American people, well, they're not talking about me because that's not who I am. This body was born on that land, but that doesn't mean my mind has to adopt that identity. Same thing like serving here in this role of being a Buddhist teacher. Even though I'll be doing this for the rest of my life, ultimately this life will come to an end and I will no longer be a Buddhist teacher. But if I adopt this identity of I am a Buddhist teacher, now when someone says something fond and glowing about that, you'll be really happy and excited. But then eventually someone's going to say something degrading and disrespectful about Buddhist teachers. And now you'll be frustrated or angry or irritated. So you can get free of that. And that's what we call realizing non-self. Okay, so this is a little bit of the intellectual learning on the universal truth of non-self. And some people understand it right from the beginning, but other times people need more time to think about this. And there's actually classes that I teach for an hour, hour and a half, just on the universal truth of non-self and understanding personal existence view. So if you don't understand it right now, it's okay. This is just an introduction to this. But you can actually independently verify that there is no self, even right now at this point in time. Here's how you do it. Think about yourself when you were a child, when you were a teenager, early adulthood, and now. Think about how you viewed yourself. Has it been exactly the same through those 4 stages of your life, or has it been constantly changing? It's been changing, right? You haven't viewed yourself in exactly the same way. This is how you can see there's no permanent self. Here's another way. If your arm was cut off at the shoulder and you only have one hand and one arm, are you less of a person? You only have one hand and one arm. Are you less of a person? What would you say? No comment? Okay. So oftentimes people say, no, I am not less of a person, right? And if that's what you were thinking, but maybe you just didn't say it, well, you can see intellectually, you understand that this body is not you. But the personal existence view, in the heat of the moment, there's that confusion that if somebody says to you, wow, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, that shirt really brings out the colors of your eyes. You're like, wow, they're talking about me, right? But if somebody says something degrading or disparaging, because it's only a matter of time before someone says, where did you get that haircut? Are you going outside looking like that? Right? And now you're frustrated or angry, right? So your mind can intellectually understand that this body is not you, because you would answer that question differently. You would answer that question, yes, there's less body, so there's less me, so therefore I am less of a person. But rarely ever does somebody answer it that way. They almost always say, there's less body, but I'm not less of a person. And that's where you can see intellectually, you understand this body is not you, but in the heat of the moment, when somebody says something about this body, you get angry or frustrated because the mind's clinging to it, wanting to be perceived by others in a certain way. So here's a third way that you can verify that this body is not you. Point to yourself. Where are you? Are you able to point to yourself? Maybe everyone's realized non-self already. A lot of times people point here. They say, I am here, right? Well, if you point here, you need to look at what you're pointing to. You're pointing to a shirt. Ask yourself, is that who you are, this shirt that you're wearing? If we took off the shirt and held it up and pointed to it, is that who you are, this shirt? That's not you, right? So we throw away the shirt. Where are you? And now someone might point again. What you're pointing to is skin. You need to ask yourself, is that who you are? That skin that you've got. If we ripped off the skin and held it up and pointed to it, is that you? That skin that you've got? That's not you either, right? So we throw that away. Where are you? Someone might point again. Well, now we've got bones, we got muscle tissue, we've got organs and fluid. None of those bits and pieces and parts are you. But with personal existence view, the mind will think that this is who you are. Not only will the mind cling to this body and the mind, but it oftentimes clings to your decisions, thinking that this is who you are. If you've used drugs and alcohol in the past, someone might say, I am an alcoholic, or I am an addict. This isn't actually true. This individual used to make choices and decisions to use drugs and alcohol in the past, but that doesn't define who they are today as a person. But the mind will adopt that identity, and now it'll feel guilty and shameful about that. Where in reality, these were just decisions that someone made. It doesn't determine who you are as a person. So this is a little bit on personal existence view. I'm going to pause here and see if you guys have questions about the 3 universal truths, and then we can get into the 4 noble truths. Do you guys have any questions here or online about the 3 universal truths? Let me check online here. Okay, I don't see any questions online. Okay, so let's go to this next little building block, and then we can talk about the 4 noble truths, where you can have a breakthrough to see what's causing these feelings. This is something called craving, desire, attachment. This is wants and expectations. This is where the mind is longing, yearning chasing after the objects of its affection, thinking that the next new shiny object is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. It's like there's this little shiny object waiting around the corner, and the mind chases it and chases it and chases it. The mind pulls in the direction of the objects of its affection, thinking something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction. So the mind chases it and chases it. The mind pulls in the direction. The mind thinks, I don't feel good here. What do I need to feel better? More money. That'll fix everything. Let me get some more money. So the mind will chase after that for a while. And if you get your money, you're happy, but then eventually that wears off. And then you're like, what do I need to feel better? A new boyfriend, a new girlfriend. That'll fix everything. Let me get one of those. And now your mind chases after that for a while. And now you're happy when you first get that person, but then over time you start getting angry and frustrated and irritated. And then you're like, what do I need to feel better? I know what I'll do. I'll go to Thailand. Thailand will fix everything. Let me go to Thailand, right? They have mango and sticky rice. They have massages. We can play with the elephants. Let's go to Thailand. This will make everything better. But then when it's time to go home, you're like, I don't want to go home, right? This is the way the mind is, that it's experiencing this craving, desire, attachment, where it's longing, yearning for something, thinking something external is going to provide lasting satisfaction. If you've ever been in the mall and you saw a brand new pair of shoes and you're like, new shoes, or maybe it was a new phone or a new piece of jewelry or a new clothing or a new video game or something like that. And you're like, if I just get that thing, everything's going to be perfect. And the mind will chase and chase and chase and chase. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you seen this in your mind? Yeah? Okay. So once you understand this, now we can look at the Four Noble Truths. This is what's going to help you to be able to understand what's causing your discontent feelings. Because in 4 simple statements, you're going to understand the problem in the mind, the cause, the elimination, and the path forward. So the first noble truth is explaining the problem. Everyone that is unenlightened will experience discontentedness. This is the problem that you're experiencing. Conditioned feelings that the mind goes up and down and up and down and up and down. You have calm and peace here and there, but it's only a matter of time before you become agitated or annoyed about something. It's only a matter of time. Right? This is the problem, because when your mind is shaken up like this, you can't make wise decisions. And now when you make unwise decisions, you experience unwholesome results coming back to you. So this is the problem that the mind's experiencing. Then the cause of that problem is in the second noble truth. Discontentedness is caused by our own cravings, desires, attachments, because the mind wants everything to be permanent when everything in the world is impermanent. I'm going to say that a couple times, and then I'm going to give you some examples so you can see this. The discontentedness, the conditioned pleasant feelings, painful feelings, and neither painful nor pleasant, is caused by craving, desire, attachment. The mind's longing, yearning, chasing after the objects of its affection, wanting things to be permanent, when in reality you live in an impermanent world. Everything around you is impermanent. So here's some examples. Think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend that you got together with. When you guys first got together, you were probably so happy and excited. They were calling you and checking in on you, sending you text messages. Maybe they were inviting you to the movies or to dinner. Maybe you're going to the park and having nice walks in the park, having great conversations. Maybe you were even having intimate contact, and you get all these pleasant feelings. But at some point, the relationship deteriorated and you guys broke up. And now you were really angry or frustrated, or maybe you were lonely or bored, or maybe you were missing this person. This wasn't your love that was causing this. Oftentimes that's what people think. It's actually your craving for permanence, wanting this person to be permanent in your life. The mind is holding on. This relationship was always impermanent from the very beginning. Even if you guys were together for the rest of your life, you guys were going to die at some point, and now you guys are going to end your relationship, right? It's going to be over. The mind's holding on and craving permanence, wanting this person to be permanent in your life, when in reality they are not permanent. You can see this if you've had someone close to you that's died or passed away. Maybe grandma or grandpa, mom or dad, brothers or sisters, maybe a close friend. It wasn't your love that was causing the grief and the sorrow and the sadness. And you're not a bad person just because you were experiencing that stuff. Every person who's ever been born is unenlightened, and their mind is going to experience discontentedness. But what was happening there is your mind was craving permanence. If the mind gets what it wants, if it gets its cravings, its wants and expectations fulfilled, it gets pleasant feelings like happiness, excitement, elation, thrill, exhilaration, euphoria. But if the mind doesn't get what it wants, it gets painful feelings like anger, sadness, frustration, and others. So if grandma and grandpa are alive, you're getting what you want. You're happy. But then when your mind doesn't get what it wants, it gets angry or frustrated. It gets painful feelings. It gets sad. You can see this at a wedding. If you've ever been to a wedding, you might have seen people crying or grieving at a wedding. Right? It's not the love that's causing this, because love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. If someone's getting married, it's like wonderful. They're having a life with this person. They're going to start a new life together. This is outstanding. Great. But that's not the way some people approach a wedding. Some people at weddings, like mom and dad, brothers and sisters, grandma and grandpa, they're crying because the mind is holding on, thinking that this person is permanent in their life. And now when they're going off into the world with someone else, their mind's holding on and they start grieving. You can see this if you remember back to when you got dropped off at school as a child, or you got dropped off at university. Your parents might have been crying, or you might have been crying. It's not the love, because love is a genuine interest in seeing all beings be well. If your child's going off to school, that's wonderful. They're going to school. They're getting an education, right? But no, mom and dad are sometimes crying, and the child's crying because the mind's holding on, craving permanence, thinking that mom and dad are permanent. Let me give you another example that doesn't involve relationships. Maybe you can see it more clearly. Let's just say you had a brand new car, that you had this dream car. You've been dreaming about this car for 10 years, and you finally saved up enough money to buy this car. And you went and bought it, and you drove off the parking lot, and you parked it at a store, and you went inside to buy something, and then you came out, and there's a scratch on your car. Oh my gosh, you might be crushed. You've been saving up for this car for 10 years. It's not the scratch that is causing your anger and frustration. And it's not the person who scratched your car. That's not what's causing the anger and frustration. It's the mind craving permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful. We're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because obviously when we walk through a parking lot, we aspire not to scratch anybody's car. But the fact is that this car is going to deteriorate. It is impermanent. The paint's going to fade. The tires are going to need to be changed. The upholstery is going to get ripped and torn. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. But if your mind craves permanence, wanting this car to look permanently beautiful, then you'll experience discontentedness, painful feelings when you see that change. So one of the ways to say this is that the mind craves permanence. But another way to say it is that the mind does not like impermanence. It doesn't like change in the unenlightened state. When things are changing in your life, that's the most difficult time for you. If you look at your life, when you were changing living locations, when you were changing jobs or occupations, when you were changing relationships, those were some of the most challenging times in your life, because your mind doesn't like change in the unenlightened state. It's holding on and craving permanence. So when you're experiencing the anger and the sadness and frustration and all these other feelings, the mind firmly believes that it's something external that's causing it. You'll blame your friends or your family or other people like this. And when you think that it's something external that's causing these feelings, you'll tend to be unskillful. You'll tend to push people away. You might have pushed away people out of your life, like your friends or family, thinking that they're the ones who are causing you to be angry. This is called aversion, where you push away the thing that you think is causing your anger, where you can see that that's not what's causing your anger, because when you push those people out of your life, you still get angry. If they were the true cause of your anger, when you push them out of your life, you'd be peaceful and joyful from that point forward. Or the second thing you'll do when you don't understand the second noble truth is you might be bitter and harsh and hostile to people through your intentions, your speech, and your actions, where you're growling and roaring at another person, trying to fear them into doing things your way. Or the third thing you'll do
But you'll tend to put expectations on people, trying to pressure them or control them to do things your way. And people might actually be doing this to you too, where they're pushing you away. They're being bitter, harsh, and hostile to you, or they're putting expectations on you. So as long as the mind doesn't understand the second noble truth, you can't live harmoniously with all beings. It's only a matter of time before you encounter somebody who's doing things differently than you, and now you're going to get angry or frustrated. So you can't believe what it is that I'm sharing here. You need to independently verify it. So let me give you a moment here to reflect on what I'm teaching you here. Because what I'm teaching you is that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. You need to look at your own life and be able to see this for yourself. Take a recent situation where you've been angry or frustrated or annoyed. It could have been this morning or yesterday or last week. At that time, you might have been trying to blame somebody else for the feelings that you had. But take a fresh look at this. Look at this with these fresh eyes. What was it that your mind wanted? What did you expect? What were you longing, yearning for? And if you would have gotten it, you would have been happy. But because you didn't get what you wanted, the mind was angry or frustrated. If you can see this for yourself, you can have a real breakthrough to being able to see that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings. And that's very empowering, because if it's your mind that's causing these feelings, then you can actually fix it. Whereas if it's everyone else that's causing these feelings, you can't fix it. If you have trouble seeing this, let me know and I will help you, because there's been plenty of people over the years that have had problems and they needed my help. I had this one student that called me one time and they said, "David, I need to talk to you." And I was like, "Sure, what's going on?" They said, "I know that you teach that it's my own mind that's causing these feelings, but I'm sure that it's my wife that causes me to be angry." And I said, "Okay, well, let's talk about it. What's going on?" And they said, "Well, I went to work the other day and my house looked beautiful. And then when I came home about 8 hours later, she had a craft project all over the house. And I walked in and I got angry and frustrated. How did my mind cause this? I wasn't even there. She's the one who messed up the house. Didn't she cause me to be angry?" And I said, "No, she didn't. It was your mind craving permanence. You wanted and expected your house to look exactly the same way when you came home as when you went to work. Your mind was craving permanence. The only thing you're experiencing here is change. That's all it is. When it goes from sun to rain, all that is change. When it goes from your bank account balance from here to here, all that is change. And you can see that there's no other person involved here. It's just the weather changing. And people get angry and frustrated about that because they're craving permanence. So if you can start to see in the second noble truth that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, like I said, this is very empowering because now you can fix it. That's what the third noble truth is helping you to be able to see, that the elimination of discontentedness is possible by eliminating craving, desire, attachment. If you eliminate the cause, craving, desire, attachment is the cause. Well, if you eliminate that cause, you eliminate the effect. So if you eliminate the longing, the yearning, the chasing after the objects of your affection, you eliminate the anger and sadness and frustration. But sometimes when I say that, people say, "Hold on a second. If I'm not chasing after the things that I want, wouldn't I swing all the way to the other side where I'm dull and lethargic and lazy?" Well, you might, but that's not what the Buddha is teaching you. The Buddha is teaching you to come to the middle where you could gradually pursue your goals, objectives, or interests. And now you can do that with enthusiasm and ambition. But you need to train your mind how to do this. So if you eliminate the craving, desire, attachments, you'll eliminate the discontentedness. And you can independently verify this too. Because think back to that boyfriend or girlfriend. When you guys first broke up, you were angry or frustrated or lonely or bored or missing this person. But at some point you were like, "You know what? If he wants to be with someone else, so be it." And your mind let go. That's where you gained your peace and your joy came back. Or you were like, "You know what? If she wants to move to a different part of the world, okay, so be it." And your mind let go. And that's where your peace and your joy came back. But your mind doesn't know how to let go in the unenlightened state. It holds on. I've talked to some people that 5-10 years after a breakup, they're still sad. They still want to be with that person. Their mind hasn't let go yet. And that's where the fourth noble truth comes in. The fourth noble truth is the complete perfect plan that's going to guide you in how to train your mind to eliminate this longing, yearning, and chasing after the objects of your affection, thinking that the next new shiny object is going to provide some lasting satisfaction. The Eightfold Path is the core central teaching of the Buddha, where you learn these 8 individual steps, and it all starts with right view. Having right view is to understand that it's your own mind that's causing these feelings, that it's your craving, desire, attachment. Wrong view would be to blame other people for the feelings that you're experiencing. If you blame other people, you'll never actually fix this. But what I encourage you to do now and for the rest of your life, whenever you're angry or frustrated or experiencing guilt or shame or fear, any of these other feelings, start looking inward and start trying to figure out what is it that you're longing, yearning for? What are you craving? Right? Like, let's just say you go to the airport. You're so excited to go to this new city, and you're checking in at the airport, and you're looking to check your bags. And the person behind the ticket office at the counter says, "Sorry, sir. Sorry, ma'am. You can't check in yet. Your flight's delayed. You can't check in for 3 hours." If you notice the anger and frustration arising, it's not the airline company that's causing that. That's the mind craving permanence. The mind wants every airplane to take off on time, especially the ones you're on, right? Everybody else's plane can be late. That's okay, right? That's the way that the mind thinks. Hey, if everyone else's plane is late, that's okay, but my planes need to be on time. But the fact is that we live in an impermanent world. There's going to be maintenance issues. There's going to be weather issues. There's going to be crew issues. It's only a matter of time. If you travel enough, you're going to meet with delays. But the mind craves permanence. So that's why someone will sit in the waiting area and be frustrated and angry. And then all the way to this new city in their airplane, angry and frustrated. Where what you can do instead is you can start looking inward and you can start trying to figure out, what am I craving here? What am I longing, yearning for? I really want to get to Thailand. Man, that mango and sticky rice and those massages, it's just on my mind. I got to let that go. And, if I get there 3 hours late, then I get there 3 hours late. It's okay, right? I'm still going to get there, right? So you need to be able to train your mind to look inward. That's what it means to have right view, where you start looking inward and you start reflecting on what is your mind longing, yearning for, and not having wrong view, which would be to blame other people. So do you guys have questions on these 4 Noble Truths? Remember, you guys can ask here with the microphones, or online you can put it into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. Any questions you guys have? No questions? Okay. I don't see any questions online either. Okay. So this is like a refresh or a recap of what I've taught 2 other times in this program already. But this chapter 12, it's actually preparing students for chapter 13, because what I've got here in chapter 12 is something that I didn't put in the previous parts of the program, is that here I've got examples of potential cravings and their harmful effects. The craving, desire, attachment isn't the object itself. It is the mind longing, yearning for the object. So for example, let's just say that I have a liter of water in my car and I'm going on a hiking trail, and I drive my car to the trail and I get out and I'm 30 minutes down the trail and I'm like, oh my gosh, oh, I forgot my water. And now you run back to your car, you twist your ankle, you sling open the door and you get your water. Water, I got my water. That's the mind craving. That's the mind longing, yearning. That's why it's shaken up like that. There could be another person who also forgot their water and they're 30 minutes down the trail and they're like, I forgot my water. I'm going to be out here for a while. Let me turn back and get my water. And now you turn back, calmly make your way back to your car, you get your water, and then you continue on your hike, right? The object is the same, the liter of water. But the difference is the mind is longing, yearning on the first one, has craving, desire, attachment. So all of these objects right here, they could be cravings, desires, attachments, but it's not the object itself. It's the way the mind longs and yearns for it, because you can have an automobile and not be attached to it. Right? You can understand that it's not permanent. Whereas if you're holding on to your automobile and craving for it to be permanent, maybe you're washing it every single week. Maybe you're looking at every little speck of dirt on there. Maybe you're worried every single time a bird gets close to your car. That's a craving, desire, attachment. right? But if you were on the other side of this, where you could care less about your car and you didn't maintain it, you're not going to experience peace and joy there either. So you need to come to the middle where you can balance this, right? So each one of these things are potential cravings, but they don't have to be cravings. You can actually train your mind to not be attached to these things. Okay, because let's talk about the solutions. That's what this chapter is really helping you to start to be able to see, because in previous chapters, I taught the entire solution, which is the Eightfold Path. But the two things that are targeting the craving, desire, attachment is breathing, mindfulness, meditation, and generosity. Breathing mindfulness meditation is what we did just now, where we focused on the breath. And anytime the mind moved off the breath, we cut that off and let it go and come back to the breath. What you're developing there is this internal mechanism in your mind to cut off and let go, cut off and let go, cut off and let go. Because when you're checking into the airplane and you notice the anger is arising, you can cut that off and let it go. If you've been training your mind with breathing mindfulness meditation, if you haven't been training your mind, you can't cut it off and let it go. And if you do this enough where you're training your mind and you cut off and let go, eventually you won't experience anger. When you check in and they say, oh, your flight's 3 hours late. Oh, okay, I understand. Do you guys have gift vouchers? Maybe I could eat at a restaurant or something like that, right? You would just be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful. But if you have craving, desire, attachment, you'll be angry and frustrated. So if you cut off and let go enough with your breathing mindfulness meditation, regularly training your mind that way, and then in your day-to-day life, you're cutting off and letting go anytime you see discontentedness arising, eventually you'll get to the point where there is no discontentedness arising, that the mind is incapable of becoming angry or frustrated because you've eliminated the causes and conditions that are producing it. So the goal of this meditation isn't to eliminate your thoughts. The goal of this meditation is to notice your thoughts sooner and sooner and cut them off and let them go easier and easier. So if 10, 15, 20 times during your meditation, you had to cut off and let go, this is very helpful for your mind. Because again, your mind doesn't know how to let go. That's what that meditation is doing for you. And then the same thing with generosity. This is training your mind to let go. Because when you have craving, desire, attachment in your mind, you'll tend to hold on to things and be somewhat selfish. What generosity is the giving and sharing of more than is strictly required in any given situation, such as your time, effort, energy, and resources, without any expectation of anything in return. So you can be practicing generosity daily in order to train your mind to let go, because your mind won't do that in the unenlightened state. It's my phone, it's my money, it's my food, it's my friends, it's my boyfriend, my girlfriend, mine, 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 mine. Everything's mine. And the mind will hold on to it. But if you can train your mind to be joyful and sharing with other people, now your mind can be trained to let go. So for example, let's just say you're walking into a store and there's somebody behind you, right? Instead of just walking through, maybe you hold the door and you let them go first, right? But you need to make sure you're practicing generosity without any expectation of anything in return. Because if you're standing there holding the door, expecting them to say thank you, and they don't say thank you, when they walk through the door, you'll be angry and frustrated. Again, we're not talking about what's wise or unwise, because maybe when you walk through the door, when someone's holding the door, you say thank you. But because we live in an impermanent world, not everybody's going to say thank you. Most people might not even see you standing there holding the door. They might be so caught up in their mind about what they're going to get out of this store that they don't even see you standing there holding the door. So if you're standing there holding the door, wanting and expecting a thank you, you're just sabotaging your mind's ability to be peaceful and joyful, because some people will walk through and say thank you, but some people are going to walk through and not say thank you. And you need to train your mind to not want or expect anything from your generosity, including a thank you. So if you're noticing that your mind's discontent with certain things, let's just say you get your clothes out of the washing machine and you see they're ripped and torn and you get frustrated about that. That's your mind craving permanence. What you would be wise to do is start practicing some generosity with your clothing, because your clothing are not permanent. They're going to get ripped and torn sometimes. And if you get angry and frustrated about this, that's your mind craving permanence. So maybe you donate some of your clothes and let other people wear them. If you notice, when your bank account balance is up here, you get really happy and excited. And when it's down here, you're frustrated or angry. You're going to need to share your resources with other people. What you're going to notice is the frequency is more important than the amount. So if it's a matter of sharing, say, $500 once a year with a children's orphanage, or sharing $1 a day, you'll notice that the $1 a day is more impactful to your mind, because you're more frequently having to let go, let go, let go. Where once a year, $500, you're letting go one time. Whereas if you do it multiple times throughout your day, your mind's going to actually benefit from this more. So let's just say you're going to the market and you're buying yourself some mangoes. Maybe you put some bananas in there too for your neighbor, right? That's a way to practice generosity. Make it easy for yourself, right? Or say you're going into 7-Eleven to buy yourself a chocolate bar. Maybe you buy 1 or 2 extras. You don't even know who you're going to give it to. You just buy some extras, and then somewhere along your day, you're going to be spending time with someone, and you're like, hey, would you like a chocolate bar? And then you practice generosity with them, right? So you can do this frequently and make it really easy for yourself. If you have certain things that maybe like jewelry, like really expensive jewelry, that you're noticing your mind is all shaken up when you misplace it and you can't find it, that means you're attached to it. So maybe you can't give away this jewelry because it's too expensive. So maybe you find someone you trust, like a friend or family member, and you ask them to hold it for a period of time. Maybe for a few months, they just hold it. Or maybe they even wear it if you trust them to wear it. Now this will train your mind to let it go. If you notice that you're attached to anything or you're craving anything, if you practice generosity with that thing, it's actually going to train your mind to let go. I helped my son with this one time. This boy was so attached to popcorn. He was craving popcorn. He was little. He was maybe only 9 or 10 years old. He was popping popcorn every single day for like 2 years straight. He was eating popcorn like it was going out of style. We were buying popcorn by the kilo, right? We were buying like 4, 5, 6 kilos at a time of popcorn and bringing it home, and he was popping up this popcorn. So after I noticed what was going on, I was like, hey, how about if you pop up some popcorn for your friends and we bag it up into some bags, and then you can go around the village and you can give it away to your friends? And he's like, sure, Dad, that'd be fun. I'll do that. I was like, all right, great. I'll help you. Right. So I helped him out and he bagged up some popcorn, and it wasn't too long after that his mind started letting go. He still eats popcorn, but it's maybe like once every 2 weeks, once a month, where before it was every single day. Right? So anything that you see your mind holding on to really tight, you can train your mind through generosity to let it go. So these are the 2 things that are really targeting it. But next week, I'm going to be teaching chapter 13, which is a way to go in and almost surgically remove some of your cravings, desires, attachments. That's why this particular chapter is here, chapter 12, because it's setting you up for chapter 13, where you can now learn how to go in and almost surgically remove your cravings, desires, attachments. So there's certain skills that I'm going to be teaching there that are unique and something that I haven't taught in this program yet. So this is everything I have to share with you guys. I'm just going to see what questions you guys might have, either here or online. Is there anything you guys would like to ask me about what we've been talking about here today? No questions? Okay. I don't see anything online either. All right. So what I'm going to do then is, oh, you have a question? Yes, ma'am. Would you mind getting a microphone so the people online can hear you? Once you press the button, the lights will come on. You just wait a second or so.
So what is the ultimate goal of this? Is it peacefulness?
Yeah, the ultimate goal of the teachings of the Buddha is get to the point where your mind is completely peaceful and joyful, that you don't experience the conditioned feelings. You will no longer experience any anger, sadness, or frustration. Your mind will be focused, concentrated. You'll have clarity of mind. You'll have deep memory. All your relationships, both personally and professionally, will be really blossoming. They'll be at ease. You won't have the bitterness and hostility in your mind anymore. So since you're not putting that out, it's not coming back to you. All your relationships are harmonious. You'll get to the point where you don't even experience a bad mood any longer, that it's physically impossible for you to experience a bad mood. So when you purify your mind, you're going to see all kinds of benefits. These are just a handful of them that you're going to see.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Another question. Since you start meditating, what kind of changes do you feel?
For me?
Yeah.
I don't experience any anger, sadness, frustration. All these things that I'm teaching you right now, this is what I experience. That it's been a very long time since I've experienced any of these feelings. And that's why I'm so motivated to share these teachings with people. I left my career behind. I left my businesses behind. I walked away from all of that because I know how transformational these teachings are and they actually work. And that's why I'm motivated to share them with people. And I do it at no cost. And all the things that I do, whether it's books, videos, podcasts, whether it's personal guidance, whether it's classes, courses, or retreats, I share everything because I'm interested in seeing as many people as possible experience this transformation in their life.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Well, I don't see any questions. So what I'll do is I'll just end by thanking you guys. Thank you for your interest to learn and grow, develop on the path. And if you guys would like to learn more, there's opportunities for you to do that. You can check our bulletin board over there, or you can check our website at buddhadailywisdom.com, because you can learn while you're here in Chiang Mai, or you can learn online as well. You can learn through the live stream. And if you can't attend live stream, you can actually attend through watching the recordings. You can just watch and learn at your own pace, because you can get help through asking questions in live classes. You can post in our Facebook group and I'll help you that way. You can send me private messages if you like, or you can schedule personal guidance, because learning in class is one thing, but relating it to your day-to-day activities is a whole nother thing. So that's where you're going to need personal guidance along the way. There's only one type of person that could get to enlightenment by themselves without the help of any teachers or any guides, and that's an actual Buddha. And they're very rare in the world. The last one that the world's currently aware of existed over 2,500 years ago. So you're going to need teachers and guides to help you along the way to do this inner growth, this inner development, this work to become a better and better human being. So whatever you do today, have a very lovely and wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time. Sawadee krap. Sawadee krap.
Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.